What's up, folks? It's UP Power. Keegan Cooper and Kevin McNulty back with you, ready to talk some football. We'll start with high school football, of course, the focus of our Friday nights on Friday Night Fever. It was another good week. Week 3 is in the books. We're finding out more and more about these teams each and every week, right? And we found out a lot about the Calumet Copper Kings. That's where we begin with our game of the week from last week, and the Copper Kings will be in our game of the week this coming Friday as well when they take on Menominee. But they had to go on the road. First real road test for the Copper Kings at Negaunee on Friday, and they really impressed. First win over the Miners in 6 years, and yeah, top to bottom, I said on Friday, they went in there expecting to win. That really helped them, having that mentality, saying we're just as good, if not better than the team on the other sideline. They proved it.
No, I agree. I think you have to have that mentality, especially when you get 3 weeks into the season, right? And you're on the road, so you're already at a disadvantage. You're at a place that you're not necessarily super comfortable with. You'd rather be on your home field, but that's how it works. And they did. They handled business, and that's not a team to be taken lightly or to be messed with. 3-0. They beat a really, what I would say, a really good Negaunee team. But ultimately, Calumet made more plays, and they're 3-0 and victorious. And
it was not entirely unfamiliar spot for Calumet either. They were 2-0 going into this game last year, and scheduled so similar year to year, starting in the Westpac. And you blow out Western County last year. You blow out Westwood last year. Well, same deal this time around as well. But the difference is they were ready for a team like Negaunee. And then it turns into Menominee and Kingsford on the back end of that. How do you perform against those teams? And Negaunee, I think, showed their youth a little bit.
Yeah, a young team.
Kyle Waterman was really, really impressive through 2 weeks. Beat Marquette on his home field as a junior in his first start. That's a huge spot. Evan Delangelo, we've been talking about a lot because he makes those big explosive plays that you don't see very much in a game where I believe the ball was thrown 9 or 10 times through the air. So he's the guy on the receiving end of a lot of those explosive plays. Well, he's been awesome, especially on kick return. He's got a kick return in each game so far, all 3 weeks. And he's just a junior too. And Negaunee is usually so steady up front on both offense and defense.
Yeah, I don't
in
think
the trenches, and they just didn't quite bring it against the Calumet team that has a lot of big dudes as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's a red alert for Negaunee per se, but it's probably a wake-up call that, hey, a lot of these teams who maybe were young in previous years are now not young. You're the young team, so it's how do you prepare against teams who have veteran players, and Calumet does, and that's what they showed in week 2, that's what they showed, and that's what I expect them to show coming up against Menominee.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there were just too many mistakes in that game for the Miners that eventually piled up, and credit to Calumet. I mentioned how the ball was not thrown very much in the game. We didn't expect it to be, as Calumet going up against Negaunee. They're running a lot of option, but when the Copper Kings did throw the ball, Hallinan airs it out to Ben Anderson, and Negaunee was completely unprepared for it. 60-yard strike almost.
Yeah. I mean,
and those are the plays that swing games.
Yeah, I mean, and throwing the football in the UP, I would say, is not unheard of, but it is less popular.
I'm talking about those two teams specifically.
Yeah. They're gonna run the ball, and the Miners, they just weren't prepared for that.
Yeah, and then Calumet ripped it off, and their defense, give them a lot of credit. They're just getting hats to the football in every single play. Negaunee wasn't able to have a ton of success. They're banged up too. That doesn't help.
Yeah.
Peters, the running back, wasn't in there. He was sidelined. They're missing another piece on offense, so they will need those guys when they go up against Menominee, Kingsford. Iron Mountain's still on the schedule, so the schedule doesn't get much easier for Negaunee. They're going to have to kind of turn things around here. And this week's UP poll is live. We will check out who else is up there in 11-man with Calumet and Menominee. Menominee is number 2. Calumet is number 3. That is our game of the week. They are both 3-0. The other 3-0 team ahead of them in 11-man is Escanaba. Another victory for the Eskimos, playing a Lower Michigan team in that Big North Conference. So Escanaba feeling good, 3-0. Obviously had that big win over Kingsford in week 1, which moves the needle quite a bit. Kingsford tied for 4th at 2-1 with Negaunee. Those teams go head-to-head this week. What are you looking forward to in that matchup? It's in Negaunee.
Yeah. So I give Negaunee the edge because they're at home. For me, I think the key is
and they're going to come out a little pissed off.
Yeah, they're going to come out. They're going to come out angry. For me, it's how comfortable is Jack Kriegel now going into somebody else's place, playing a well-known program. And I've seen his comfortability level taking over that quarterback position get better and better every single week, whether, he's got to throw the ball or keep it on the ground.
Well,
and
Kingsford
run it.
had to change their offense, too.
Yeah. And so it was kind of that adjusting weeks. It's that you never really know until you've played a few games, and I think they've figured it out now. And how about the 2 safeties for Kingsford against Gladstone? I mean, that's some defensive
power. 2 of them, right?
Yeah, 2 safeties for the Flivers against Gladstone. So they've kind of put the pieces together, and I think have figured out what they've got to do to be successful.
Absolutely. They just went in there, a game that wasn't supposed to be on the road, and ended up being on the road, and they took care of business against the Gladstone team that they should have beaten, and they did. And Gladstone will get a win here or there. They're talking about a young team. They're very, very young. And then Bark River Harris, quietly undefeated, not so quietly in week 2 when they went into Iron Mountain, got their first ever win over the Mountaineers. How about that?
It's wild, but it's that
I believe they were 0-10 or 0-11 all time previously.
Yeah, it's that change in, graduating classes are gone, and it's these new emerging teams that have, more of a seasoned group that's able to go in and make something happen. That game for Bark River Harris has got to be, regardless of what happens the rest of the season, it's got to be one of their top highlights. You beat a team that you've never beaten. Overtime
win, that is always exciting. They will get a forfeit win this Friday. Gwynn was on the schedule. And Escanaba, for reference, is going to be at Sault Ste. Marie. I think that is a victory for the Eskimos. Take nothing for granted, but they are looking 4-0 right down the barrel. Elsewhere in 11-man football this Friday night, Hancock visits Gladstone. The Copper Bowl was not pretty for Hancock. But I think it was a victory, truth be told, that they were out there with and able to field a team.
Yeah.
Because the previous week you couldn't say that, right? They had to cancel their game against Menominee. So good to have enough healthy guys to go in that game against Houghton, but the Gremlins left no doubt, 42-zip.
Yep.
So Houghton visits Westwood. Coach Tim Driscoll and his guys got their first win last week. Got to be thinking about getting another one on the road this weekend against a Westwood team that just maybe doesn't have the bodies inside to compete at a high level in the Westpac. Because you think about the skill, and they have Ethan Marta, who's a terrific athlete. He's 6'3", playing quarterback. And then he can't be Superman all the time, right?
Yeah, and that's the difficult thing, especially with those younger players, right? It's now who's going to step up and make that play and
it's not being discouraged by an 0-3 start, right?
Yeah.
You got a long season, you got 9 games to play. Let's get better, especially for the juniors on the team, sophomores that are up. Like, hey, we want to build something for the years coming, and it's not over because we're 0-3.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it that way as well. Lance visits Manistique. And then you have Marquette, which we have to talk about Marquette's game on Saturday. You and I were both tuned into. They're going back downstate this weekend. It's a Friday game at Saginaw United, a team they did not have on the schedule last year. They go to Gaylord for a conference game against the Blue Devils on Saturday night. And, man, you watched more than I watched. I listened to a lot of it on the radio. And Marquette did a lot of things well, but they did enough things poorly to lose the game in overtime. And overtime was crazy, right? And Marquette gets the ball second, scores,
Yep.
needs the 2-point conversion. I really like the decision. I think most people would agree with the decision to go for 2 and win the game.
Yeah, I think you're on the road. I think that's hey, we're going to try to go win it. I think if you're at home, you kick the extra point, you go to double OT. But, yeah, I support the decision to go for the win as well. I think that it's kind of how it shaked out.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a tough call. Marquette does have kickers they can trust. But at the same time, you got a playmaker in Ford Richardson who makes that play where they're rolling him out and he's trying to sneak inside the pylon. Gaylord makes a great play on it. We watched the play over and over again. They sniffed it out and were able to stop him and win the game.
Yeah, and that's the play that sticks out. And it's, I mean, yes, technically it's the one that lost them the game, but there's some other things, in the early part of the game,
an interception, and then the second time this year where Richardson has made up for an interception he's thrown by intercepting a pass on defense.
Yeah. So, there's some other things that they got to clean up. It's tough though. That is a tough one, a tough pill to swallow. And then this week you're right back in it against Saginaw United, the Phoenix. They're going to be a good, well-coached, oiled machine. So Marquette has to be ready for that, and you got to limit those little mistakes. I think earlier in the game,
And Marquette falling to 1-2 now doesn't bode well for their postseason aspirations. No. Again, they were 6-3 last year in D2. They're D3 now. That probably helps in terms of quality of opponents, right? That's what hurt them last year. Their 6 wins weren't good enough. It's basically the old BCS, which they got rid of in college football 12 years ago. And, yeah, that's kind of what Marquette is up against. Not a lot of room for error going forward.
Yeah, and if you're thinking playoffs for Marquette, you got to start stacking wins, and you may even really, in all reality, you might have to win out.
2 close losses, though.
Yeah.
Which have to sting, absolutely have to sting. Let's talk 8-man, the poll. We got 4 undefeated still at 3-0. Pickford is number 1, understandably. They're in the state championship last year. We thought they lost a lot because they lost Tommy Story. And as it goes in 8-man, if you got one dude, you're in really good shape. Well, they didn't have that dude coming into this year, but they've looked really good so far. How about Norway?
Yeah, man.
They're 3-0. They're at number 2 in the poll, and we didn't have a chance to talk about this. They blitzed North Central.
Yeah, which was, very surprising, but Norway, it's almost as if a different energy is coming from the Knights this season. Andy Medina, his first year as the head coach, he's got some new guys. He's got some returners. Colby.
I believe it's just Owen, right?
Or just Owen, yeah.
Right,
Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry. Get him confused. But
I always do too.
just Owen there, a quarterback.
Yeah.
They're hungry for it. And, when we did the season preview on Norway and I was talking to Coach Medina, he said, Norway for a couple of years has been on the cusp of doing something really special.
And it's true.
Has been right there. And this might be that year because the hunger there, the passion is there, they're deep, and they're staying healthy, and that's key. And you go in and you face North Central and you put it to them. Perennial powerhouse in 8-man football.
And last year, as you mentioned, being on the cusp for a couple of years now, they ran into a dude in Caden Luma in Ishpeming last year. The Hematites' first year in 8-man. Maybe a lot of the teams that were going to face them didn't know much about him. And that game was a shootout, and Norway just came out on the wrong end of it. And now they've really hit the ground running here in 2025. Looking good. Last weekend, it was a win over Stevenson, I believe, on Friday night. So Norway is 3-0, and North Dickinson, big-time statement win over the defending state champion, Forest Park Trojans. We know from week 1 that Forest Park is probably not the same as they were last year. Sure, seniors, but then a guy and an athlete as great as Vic Giuliani goes out in the offseason,
Yeah.
and he's going to miss the whole season. And Forest Park has some questions to answer as they move forward through the season, now 1-2 after their opening loss to Newberry as well. So Forest Park's in a sticky situation, trying to figure out what they have for the rest of this year. Meanwhile, North Dickinson, who we apologize to, we were supposed to get highlights of that game. We never got highlights of that game. We're going to Ontonagon this Friday. But North Dickinson's 3-0. That's awesome.
No, it is. And, Forest Park's still no slouch. Dax Hookey, over 20 touchdowns last year. But, teams are keying in on that. So it's how do the Trojans change it. But for North Dickinson, 3-0. I said it when we got the news that Vic Giuliani went down. That 8-man is wide open, and it really is. And I think that excites teams. It can really be anybody's. North Dickinson, Norway, Pickford's going to be up there.
I do always forget
Go
which teams are in which division. I was about to get to Go Gibbick is the final undefeated team. They're 4th in the poll. I mean, you're kind of picking out of a hat to pick one of these teams to put 1 through 4 and rank them based off of their records or what you've seen. But, yeah, Go Gibbick, you saw them Friday night at Ishpeming. Didn't allow a point in the second half, correct? And broke free for a 96-yarder.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive to see that happen. I mean, they were hungry. Their defense was giving Grady Gauthier trouble. I mean, they were quick off the line. They were, helmet to helmet. They were tracking everybody. It was impressive to see because you think Grady Gauthier's a speedy guy. Now he did sneak in for a few touchdowns here and there, but. Go Gibbick's a team to watch this year. The Miners are hungry, and you saw that when they played Ishpeming.
And Newberry, I mentioned, knocked off Forest Park week 1. They are in at number 5 with their 2-1 record. Also tied with them, Lakeland and Hubble, off to a nice start after what was a down year last year. 2-1 through 3 weeks. They have Stevenson on the road this coming week, so the Lakes are in there, along with St. Ignace is 2-1 receiving votes in the poll as well. So this Friday in 8-man, Superior Central goes to Go Gibbick. Maybe the Miners can get another win at home and improve to 4-0. Engadine visits Cedarville to tour. St. Ignace at Newberry is a good EUP game. Yeah, right there. Don't know who I'd give the edge to in that one, but Ironwood visits Norway. So Norway with an opportunity to move to 4-0 on their home field this Friday. I mentioned North Dickinson going to Ontonagon, a team that took down Ishpeming in week 1. So Ontonagon will be up against the 3-0 North Dickinson team.
Yeah.
Brimley's at North Central. Forest Park visits Rapid River. Maybe a chance for the Trojans to steady the ship there. Pickford visits Rudyard. Pickford obviously looking to stay atop the poll and be 4-0. I mentioned Lake Linden at Stevenson. Then Saturday, Munising, a team we talked to in the preseason, pretty young, figuring a lot of things out against an Ishpeming team that been a little banged up, and their offense kind of runs through Grady Gauthier. So I don't really know for sure what's going to happen in that game.
Yeah, I couldn't give a clear edge to anybody. I think, it's with Ishpeming for Grady, the offense is him. He's going to touch the ball every time, so it's who else is going to step up and maybe make 1 or 2 plays for the Hematites, and that could be the difference maker. For Munising, they're so young. I mean, you think about the athletes that we've seen go through that program that aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same story.
I don't want us to sound like a broken record, but we are trying to give the current roster the benefit of the doubt where they weren't asked to make a ton of plays in years past.
And now they are being. So it's learning as you go. You practice in preseason and you prep, but you never really know until you know when you get out there, if that makes sense. And so, I don't know. It's going to be a coin flip. My gut says Munising. I'm going to give them the edge, but I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough from Ishpeming in terms of them being able to go and win games in the second half because they've been in all of these games. And you got to be thinking during the week as teams are prepping for a team like Ishpeming. They know if we stop Brady Gauthier out of the backfield, then we're sitting pretty. This thing is going. right? But
Yeah.
if we don't, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, and I bring up that Go Get Big Ishpeming game. First half, Grady's getting carries, getting yards, getting into the end zone. The second half, Go Get Big changes their tune a little bit and stopped him, stuffed him, sacked him a few times, and made it tough for the Ishpeming offense to move the football. And then they scored in turn for that. So that'll be not teams that are undefeated, but I think an even matchup when you're going into that game on Saturday.
Yep. Speaking of Saturday, I just took time to pull up the NMU box score from this past Saturday when St. Thomas was in town. Since I was on the sidelines, I'll tell you what I saw. And through three quarters, it was 6-0 St. Thomas at halftime. You're like, wow, the defense is impressive. Jax Hurdle is a terrific player.
Yeah.
He was all GLIAC for the Wildcats last year. Maybe not many people knew that because they were winless, but he was an all-conference player last year. He's playing like a first-team all-conference player right now with the tackles for loss. He had a sack. He had the pick 6 in week 1. He was terrific. The entire defense terrific for 3.5 quarters on Saturday. And St. Thomas got the one touchdown early. They faked the extra point, didn't get it, felt like they were doing a favor to NMU, and sure enough, they were, because third quarter rolls around. Northern, after moving the ball pretty much the entire game, really moving the ball. They had 129 yards on the ground, again, dominating the running game as opposed to their opponent, 54 rush yards for the Tommies on Saturday. So they were moving the ball. So many different guys carrying the ball. Whether it was Chauvald, who was in a quarterback pretty much the entire game. I think we got some answers there between Riddle and Chauvald, who's going to be taking a lot of snaps. It was Chauvald, because he could throw the ball too, and he did. Trevor Turkoff from Menominee had a really good game. I think he had 3 catches for something around 40 yards. So they were able to throw the ball too. That wasn't completely absent from their offensive attack. Did they lose the battle through the air? Yes, for the third straight game. That was true. Tommy's had 221 yards passing. Northern was 11 for 19 total, 133 yards. That's not terrible for a team that's run the option.
No, not at all. I think it really comes down to it's situational. For me, I'm glad that they've kind of separated who is going to be that guy. Because now with Chauvald, when he's in, you don't know. Yeah. Because he is capable of kind of doing both.
And the touchdown they did score in the third quarter, it was actually Austin Riddle from Marquette, transferred from Tech, who took that snap, handoff to Jai Wood, who's been really good. He's another all-GLIAC guy who I think will be once again. And he hits the corner in there. Wildcats leading 7-6. You're like, no way. Going to the fourth quarter, they put up 4s, and they're beating an FCS team who had just gone down to the wire with Idaho, I believe an FBS team. So you're like, wow, but what's it going to take to finish this off and win our first game in 3 years?
Yep.
And that has been a recurring thing that we've seen. They don't know how to win.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're sitting here and telling them we know how to win. It's just the fact that they haven't done it. It's true when you watch that fourth quarter. It's just not there because they have not done it.
Well,
They have not been in these situations. Up 21-0 in week 1.
Yep.
They were not in that situation. Up 7-6 going to the fourth quarter. Not really in that situation. Maybe the Roosevelt game last year, but not even close to the quality of opponent they were facing this weekend at the Dome. And all it took, and St. Thomas would have been wise to do this earlier in the game, they took 2 deep shots.
Yeah.
And they took a 20-7 lead in, I believe, 8 plays. And that ends up being the difference. And you can pick apart the coaching decisions from Shane Richardson. It was in the first half, they had a 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Could have kicked about a 40-yard field goal. They go for it, don't get it. That hurts. They're scoreless at halftime. Then the second half, a little bit of a different situation. They're up 7-6, can take a 4-point lead, which in that game would have felt like a massive lead.
Yeah.
Just to be up 4 and you know are requiring St. Thomas to get a touchdown to catch you. I thought that was the right decision. It was a 42-yarder, and Michael Carlin was wide left. So if you don't get help from your special teams on a kick like that, and it was close. It was a close kick. It's no good. St. Thomas takes over, but Northern's defense gets another stop, and then the offense just slowed. They were not able to, get that punch in the second half once they took a 1-point lead, and it did feel like, well, it was inevitable that St. Thomas was gonna take it deep, and sure enough, that's what they did. Like I said, 8 plays later, there in the fourth quarter, it's a 20-7 game. Northern has to go for it on fourth and don't get it, and that's it. So it's really good football game for a while. The fans were into it.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty decent crowd there. It did get loud on third downs, especially in the second half when it started to set in like, we could do this. They didn't, and when you look at the box score, it's a game they should have won. They dominated time of possession here, and as a team that runs the option, they should be winning time of possession in every game that's competitive. But 34-39, they possessed the ball for, as opposed to 25 minutes for St. Thomas. So they were better on third down.
Yeah.
I talked about the defense being really good. They stopped St. Thomas on 2 of 9 third downs.
I mean, they've been better.
And Northern was 5 of 16, and they were 2 of 4 on fourth.
Yeah.
So again, like that first decision from Richardson in the first half to go for it on 4th and 1, you can't call it a really bad decision because they got 2 of their 3 other fourth downs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not the one at the end of the game that they didn't get ended it.
Yeah, and you have to be hungry in that scenario. It's 4th and 1. The implications of what could happen if you did or didn't make it, or if you got it or didn't get it.
And at that point, it would have been taking a 7-6 lead in the first half as opposed to late in the third quarter like they did.
Yeah, it's difficult, and I guess my thing now is how do they learn how to win and play with the lead? And because arguably all 3 of these games for the first 3 weeks, they've been in them. They've won in categories. In the Northwood game, they dominated in the run game and in the passing game through the air, and they lose.
Yeah.
And there are some instances when you look at the the Moorhead game where it's like, okay, you're not going to win a game if you fumble 3 times, right? Or it's really, really going to hurt your chances if you do that. So how do they limit self-sabotage? It's not even that these teams have been necessarily, maybe St. Thomas a little better. Moorhead's quarterback, obviously, he had a crazy game in that one. They put up 44 points, but limiting the self-detriments, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
And now you're rolling right into conference season.
And it wasn't like there were mistakes all over the field against
No.
St. Thomas. They would have gotten blown out if that was the case. It's just the little things, situational things that they have to get better at to win, one of these 8 remaining games on their schedule. I think you and I would both argue 0-3 this year in 2025 feels worlds different than 0-3 in 24-23.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, no, I do.
And you have a stat.
Yeah, I do. So last year, 2024, Northern scores 172 points throughout the season. This year, they've scored, I think it's like 68 already.
Yeah, obviously the offense wasn't there on Saturday.
Yeah, so they've scored 36% of their offense already in 3 games than they did the entire year last year.
62 points they have.
62 points.
Yeah.
So 36% of their offense has already come in 3 games, points on the board. And at the end of the day, putting points on the board is very, very crucial. Here's the other one, Kevin. Defensively, we were talking about their defense and Hurdle and what the defense has done through the first 3 weeks. Last year, they averaged giving up 49 or more points a game. This year, that number's below 30 points a game. Now, keep in mind, they're only through 3 games. They've got some tough matchups coming up with Grand Valley and Ferris, who put up a lot of points. Michigan Tech last year against Northern put up a lot of points. But when you're keeping a team on average under 30 points, and you're scoring 36% more offense, it's pretty good.
I agree. And the issue on defense probably in the secondary.
Yeah.
Because that Moorhead quarterback kind of tore him up in the second half, and the 2 late touchdowns given up to St. Thomas, those were the issues with coverage in the secondary. So that's certainly something for the defense to clean up before Davenport comes in for homecoming on Saturday. Now, this is an interesting one. Davenport's a good team, but it's a team that's on your schedule twice.
Yep.
So maybe you're thinking about it as a divisional game in the NFL where we know we're going to get this team again. What can we learn, even if they don't win this weekend?
Yeah. And
granted, part 2 is on the road in November, but it is interesting in that way where they're going to see this team again.
Mm-hmm. I actually asked Shane Richardson that at the press conference today, do you prepare any differently for a team that you're going to see twice? And for him, it's, it's not like they're seeing them so close. So it's concentrating on
and they
this
have
game.
to go week to week,
they have
right?
To, yeah.
They don't. They don't have the luxury of looking ahead.
Yeah.
Well, quite the opposite story to tell in Houghton. A 3-0 team, ranked inside the top 25 at number 24, ranked for the first time in Dan Metlack's coaching tenure, and they do so many things well, and they've added another element to their offense where Alex Bueno, the quarterback, is their leading rusher so far. And I asked Dan Metlack today, well, how do you feel about that? Is that really a good thing that your quarterback's the leading rusher? And he said, we don't really care about that. When you get into GLIAC games and you don't want your quarterback to get knocked out, we probably don't want him running the ball 30 times a game. Say when you're playing fairs, that's probably not going to be the case, and it probably won't last that he'll be their leading rusher. But they've added that to their offense, and the run game as a whole with Roof has been good, and he's right there behind Bueno. Like, they've been able to run the ball, and on top of that, they got these veteran guys on the outside. I'm trying not to sneeze. In Ethan Champney and Nick Nora, who've been outstanding.
Yeah, they've been fun to watch, and Bueno, to see that relationship
He had
blossom.
364 yards, obviously a career high. He started 3 games, 3 touchdowns through the air.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Actually, it's really impressive, and that connection that they have, Ethan Champney and Bueno, and Nick Nora and Bueno,
it's there.
It's really hard to contend with, when they're able to do that and put up points like that as quick as they were. Defensively, I think that they've been great also. Getting stops,
They had
couple
four
interceptions, couple sacks.
4 sacks against Hillsdale on the road. They gave up 21 points, which is a season high. There was a trick play at the end of the half that Hillsdale scored on. Coach Metlack not too thrilled about that one. He was like, these are looks that the defense is getting in practice against us, so they should be ready for that kind of thing. And that was kind of what he took out of it. It's like our defense got to be prepared for things like that. So take that away. They only give up 2 touchdowns, 14 points on the day. They played well. Dante Bassanese from Iron Mountain, captain on defense, led them in tackles last year with 84. He's a guy that can get up in all 3 levels of the defense, and he was going back on that pick on Saturday. His 5th career interception. He had 3 in 2023, the first year he was seeing the field a lot. Last year he had 1 and already got 1 this year. So I was talking to Dante today as well. He was pretty fired up and telling me about what that's like when you're able to help out your offense and you're celebrating with your defense, and especially between the DBs and the pass rushers to be able to help them out, get them off the field because, they're getting sacks, they're getting to the quarterback, they're doing their part, and then it's all complementary football. You can have complementary football within your defense as well, between the guys in the backfield and the guys up front. So they really are playing that way. I think they got to stay a little grounded with Upper Iowa coming in here on Saturday, a good non-conference opponent, also a non-conference opponent they're familiar with, and for that reason, I think they'll be ready to go, and the coaching staff will have those guys ready to finish non-conference undefeated, hit the ground running. Easy start to the GLIAC season is Wayne State. Maybe if we were playing the where does Northern get their win?
Yeah.
I think we both believe it's going to happen. You know, you
believe
could
it.
argue Roosevelt, they went to overtime with them last year. Wayne State does not look good. So the Huskies get to start GLIACs with Wayne State and potentially improve to 5-0. Northern has them last on the schedule. So you don't want to be 0-10 back
Yeah, you
against the
don't.
wall
You
trying to avoid 3 straight winless seasons in that game. But for Tech, it's a nice little comfortable start out of a bye. Both NMU and Tech have the same bye after this coming Saturday to separate non-conference and conference games. Although it's weird with Northern having Davenport on their schedule
Yeah.
twice. Technically, the second one is the non-conference
Non-conference
game. It's strange. Like Kansas State played Arizona on Friday night. They're both in the Big 12.
Yeah.
It wasn't a conference game
Yeah. So
because they scheduled it before Arizona was in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So it's a similar situation to that. But for Tech, get through this Saturday. It's homecoming. Don't let your heads get too big, and then you got to reset. And Wayne State coming out of a bye. I like that setup
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. And I mean, we have the potential to be talking about a 5-0 Huskies team.
And go from there.
And I like them at home. I think.
And then, yeah, it's 2 straight on the road to start the GLIAC season, and then Ferris at home.
Yeah. So.
Ferris, at least it's at home.
Yeah.
How about we can talk college football at large now. Trinidad Chambliss, our guy from Ferris State, the quarterback last year, transfers to Ole Miss and put on a show. And that Arkansas-Ole Miss game was really terrific. And if you missed it on your early news yesterday, I talked to Dan Metlack about going up against Isaac Tesla, the rookie wide receiver for the Lions, who started at Hillsdale for 2 years and lit them up in a game in 2022. And he did say, man, it would be nice if we got to keep these guys for 4 years before they go to the NFL, and NFL scouts would actually take a look at some of these D2 guys. The unfortunate reality is they think I got to move up and play SEC football if I want to have a shot in the league, which just does make sense at the end of the day, that you want to play against better competition if you want to play against the best competition in the world.
Yeah.
So that's the reality. That's the way it is. But yeah, Chambliss. In the national title game, he was outstanding. He was so good for them, for Ferris last year. You just got to be happy for that guy. He's now doing it for a top 15 team in the SEC.
It's pretty surreal, right? Because you watch these guys
It goes to
play.
show you, both of these guys, Tesla and Chambliss, there's some really, really good talent in D2. Whether people want to admit that it's there, it's there.
Yeah.
Just open your eyes to see it. So that was pretty cool. Elsewhere in college football over the weekend, Michigan against Central.
Yeah.
Shout out Jason Smith getting the start for the Chips, but that was over before it started.
Yeah, and I mean, Bryce Underwood showing why he's the, top quarterback recruit in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, like they just.
I hope Brian Kelly wasn't watching. He would have been a little upset to see that. I think he will for 3 years, because the talent is just off the charts.
Yeah, and
with him.
It was over in the first quarter at the end.
I said it was over before it started, so you're being nicer.
Yeah, I mean, it just and some of the throws that he was making, escapes the pocket.
He threw a pick.
He did throw a pick. He also threw what?
If we're gonna give him flowers, we gotta dog him a little bit too.
5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was 63-3.
He escapes the pocket off 1 foot, leaning back, and throws a dime into the end zone. I mean, what more can you ask for a quarterback? He also gets a 20-yard rushing touchdown on the ground on his own. He breaks right and then decides, oh, no, I can't go that way. I'll just run it in and score.
But let him figure this stuff out against Central, which is why I'm glad that they're playing him. Same deal with my alma mater starting a true freshman quarterback. Let him get in there against the Towsons and the Central Michigans and all the directional schools before you got to go at home this year. But Ohio State, that game still happens, even though you can lose and go to the playoff and win a national championship. Even though that's on the table, they still play that game. It's still pretty important. So, yeah, Michigan State, I don't think looked great. I didn't watch that game against Youngstown. I don't think they looked great.
I caught a little bit of it. They didn't look great, but they did do enough, obviously.
And I'm really just judging by it was like a 14-10 game in the second quarter.
Yeah.
So, but if you go back a week, they beat Boston College in overtime, and it's awesome. We lost to BC last year, right? Now we're 3-0, feeling good. Year 2, Jonathan Smith. Boston College lost to Stanford. So that's not a great sign because Stanford, I believe their win total, according to the books, going into this season was .5.
Oh.
So Boston College lost to Stanford, and that was like a big win for MSU. So, yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, and I think for the Spartans, I think Aiden Childs is doing the right things. He's got talent around him.
You expect some maturation, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
sophomore.
Yeah.
That was kind of his thing last year, and, you know, they had a fine season for first year of a new coach, right, 5-7. They win that Boston College game. That was close. They had a couple close Big Ten games. Then they're going to a bowl. But that was the thing with Childs. It was just erratic, like a Jameis Winston type. I'm going to throw 4 touchdowns, but I might throw 4 picks too.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of some of that.
And I think we've seen that. I think we've seen it a little bit. That Youngstown game,
I would agree.
He got a little wild, but then he reeled it in. He had some nice passes under pressure.
Yeah.
That a year ago might have been interceptions.
Yeah. So the SEC game of the day was awesome. Georgia and Tennessee. We were watching some of that. Overtime. Georgia's beaten Tennessee like 8 years in a row. Crazy, dating back to 2016. I really thought Tennessee was going to win. They had the field goal, they missed, and you have 110,000 people in white and orange, checkerboarded in the stands, and they're all down. They're like, oh my gosh, this is happening again. Go to overtime. I mean, give Georgia credit. They had like a 4th and 6. If they don't get it, game's over. And Gunnar Stockton, who had to play in relief of Carson Beck in like the SEC championship last year, he got thrown in, and I think that helped him on Saturday, being able to make that throw into the end zone, touchdown on 4th down, and here we go, brand new ball game. And college kickers, man, that's what happens. Tennessee gets the false start. They basically ice their own kicker and move him back 5 yards. I knew he was going to miss that kick.
Yeah.
And so he did. Georgia breaks one play in overtime after Tennessee had kicked a field goal, and you knew that was
Bob's your uncle. That's it.
That was it. So Georgia's still a force in the SEC. And then, so I didn't do great on my picks. I didn't check how you did.
I don't know.
But I was 1-3. So I am now 7-5, which I will still take, because Georgia did not cover 4 and a hook. A lot of people had them at 3 and a hook. They didn't cover that either. They won by 3. And then my other misses were Oregon. Not getting 27.5 over Northwestern. That was the big noon game on Fox. L on that one. I did get Bama. They covered against Wisconsin. I'm picking against Wisconsin again this week because the Terps are in town. My other miss, which was another incredible game, and how we'll wrap up college football here, Notre Dame at home against Texas A&M Saturday night on NBC. And, well, it was a shootout of a game. And Notre Dame might have gotten screwed on a miss holding call. I shouldn't say might have. They did. It was fourth down. It was a hold against Texas A&M, and it really would have changed how that game played out late. On top of that, the backup quarterback, Tyler Buckner, who started at Notre Dame, went to Alabama, back at Notre Dame, won a national championship in lacrosse, thought he could have been the starting quarterback this year, C.J. Carr, who we've talked about. And on the extra point, he fumbles the snap, and that is the difference between Texas A&M winning in regulation and going to overtime. And I felt terrible for the kid.
Yeah.
Because he's not trying to drop that snap. He did.
He did.
And it was a huge extra point. I mean, how many extra points did we see missed in the NFL on Sunday? And then I talked about college kickers. That's how it goes. But to have one like that late in the game, knowing how much you needed that point to send it to overtime, it was just brutal for the kid. And they kept showing him on the broadcast.
It's like, get him off of there.
There were so many reasons why Notre Dame lost this game. Yeah, that's the one that happened late. Just give him a break. I think things were rough enough on him. Yeah. Does Notre Dame make the playoff?
Yeah, I was going to ask, are the Fighting Irish in trouble now?
Well, they are. If they lose another one, and their schedule gets so much easier. These were their two toughest games of the year. Miami, I think, is already in the playoff. You can't say that for certain, but they play in the ACC. You probably thought that last year when they had Cam Ward and were 9-0. I think they were 9-0 before they lost to Syracuse and then missed the ACC championship. So it did unravel on them last year, but they have a really good quarterback in Carson Beck. They stomped South Florida, who had upset Florida the week before, and stomped Boise in week one. So Miami,
they're in.
Great team. I think they're a top 5 team. And yeah, obviously I think they're a playoff team. So that's one loss for Notre Dame against the playoff team. Texas A&M obviously plays in the SEC, so they will have really tough games to play, but I mean, they're 3-0 going into SEC play. I guess they have the other non-conference game because the SEC still schedules only 8. But Texas A&M can potentially win the SEC or at least be in the mix, and that would mean a playoff spot because they play such tough competition. So Notre Dame fans really have to root for Miami and Texas A&M, and NC State and USC are the 2 toughest games remaining on their schedule. 2 games I think they will win, and I think they'll win 10 in a row, and we'll get into the playoff.
10 in a row. I'm looking at their schedule right now.
That's what they have to do.
Purdue, then Arkansas, Boise State.
Arkansas is a scary game.
Yeah.
Because that quarterback Arkansas has, I talked about, they played at Ole Miss this past weekend, and Trinidad Chambliss. But Arkansas is a scary team.
Yeah. Boise State, then NC State.
But they did this last year, right?
Yeah.
They lost to Northern Illinois at home. You thought, okay, that team can't go to the playoff because that's the worst loss of the year, probably, right? But then they run the table, and they're in. They go to the national championship. Well, they lost their first 2 games here to really, really good teams, and I think they win 10 in a row and get into the playoff.
I'm here for it.
And a lot of people are going to be angry about it.
That's the hot take of the day there. I don't see it. I think they're going to slip. I think they'll win.
Certainly possible.
8,
but
9.
if they slipped last year, they weren't in, and they didn't.
They didn't. The Irish powered through.
And yeah, all the way to Ohio State in the Natty. When they hung around, the game felt like it was over, then it wasn't, and whatever. Let's go to the NFL. Thursday night. So obviously we consume a lot of the NFL media, people that have our jobs, but on a national level, and hear what they have to say about the Packers after 2 weeks. That defense, Jordan Love looks great, and they're putting them on par with the Eagles in the NFC. Do you agree?
Right now, yes. After they play the schedule that they have, it'll tell more.
Their schedule is tough.
2 games in.
Not the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which we went through.
Yeah.
It is pretty ridiculous. So they're going on the road to Cleveland
Yeah. So win
this week. So,
and- I mean,
yeah, they're not getting tripped up soon. And then they have a week 5 bye. Remind me who they play week 4.
the Cowboys. Yeah. Yeah.
In Dallas on Sunday Night Football
Yeah.
on TV6, I
Um,
believe. So they already beat the Browns
Yeah, they already beat the Browns. They're probably going to beat the Cowboys.
because Micah's going to have like 6 sacks
Yeah.
because he's going to play in front of Jerry in Jerry World
Yeah.
after. How about the fans on Thursday night chanting "Thank you, Jerry" when Micah was on set with the Amazon folks?
Yeah.
Incredible. But yeah, I do agree in putting so everything that happened this weekend after the Packers,
Yeah.
they handled the Commanders. I know it was a touchdown game at one point early in the fourth quarter, but they really handled them. Tucker Kraft,
Yeah.
coming out party, one of the best tight ends in the league. Ready for this one? And I dropped this on air, I think Friday afternoon. The most yards for a Packers tight end since Richard Rodgers in 2015. The Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary to Richard Rodgers in
wow.
Ford Field on that Thursday night.
Wow.
It was like a December game. Nance was on the call on Thursday Night Football. I forgot they used to put it on CBS. Yeah. So that was 10 years ago. Tucker Kraft had the best night for a Packers tight end in 10 years on Thursday. He was awesome.
I'm looking at their schedule, and I just realized after the Cowboys, the Packers get the Bengals
Without Joe Burrow.
without Joe Burrow. So that's 6-0, right?
I know. You
and
just
you're
keep.
beating the Cardinals 7-0. Steelers, who knows?
So we were talking about them having a tough schedule. That starts in November, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Panthers
Cardinals are the softest 2-0 ever because they barely beat the Saints and they barely beat the Panthers.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're 2-0, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, it really does start. In,
With the Eagles game on Monday Night Football, which
Yeah.
is November the 10th. And you have Eagles, Giants, Vikings. It's a lot of divisional games. And now the 2 Bears games look like jokes.
unfortunately.
So, I mean it's the Ravens in Week 17. I mean, yeah, that Eagles game will be very, very interesting because I imagine the conversations from now until then will be pretty similar. Like, can't wait to see the Packers play the Eagles because they're pretty even.
Yeah.
And the Eagles beat the Chiefs in Kansas City on Sunday afternoon. Chiefs are 0-2, by the way. First time.
Yeah, I know. Panic. It might be.
First time since 2014. First time Mahomes has ever lost 3 in a row. Granted, one of them was the Super Bowl. But the Eagles, and I think a lot of people feel this way after watching that game. I'm sick of the tush push.
I saw the screenshot, right? And the number one comment.
And Dean Blandino, who's Fox's referee guy
Yeah.
in the booth or whatever, he said I'm done with the tush push too, because he's right. It's so difficult to officiate.
And the center in that photo looks so offsides.
It was both the guards.
Yeah. Well, the center and both guards.
And it's a false start if you move your head
Yeah.
that much. The fact that, yeah, there's that's not called because they don't want to touch it. And then the scrum, you have no idea where the ball is. It never bothered me until Sunday,
Yeah, my thing is
where you also knew
Yeah.
you get to 3rd and short, you get to 4th and short, you're going to see it twice in a row.
Well, and teams are going to.
It's not exciting.
They're going to do it until either the NFL does something or it gets.
This
called
is
and
the
reviewed.
last year.
Yeah.
This is the last year. And if you remember, it was the Packers that brought it to the table in the owners' meetings. Speculation about, was it the Packers because they don't technically have an owner and thus there's no one to finger point at? You got rid of the tush push,
Yeah.
as opposed to if it was Jerry Jones who brought it up, against a divisional rival. Like, you got rid of the tush push, Jerry Jones, and you can't really say that with the Packers. Ed Powell, it just doesn't work.
I don't think I'm a fan of it either. I'm like, I don't know, run a play, throw a little pitch.
That's my hypothesis, is that this offseason they're going to get rid of it. But that means you got 15 more games in the playoffs to watch the Eagles do it.
Yeah, and I mean,
how do the Packers defend it without Kenny Clark? The interior of their defensive line has been good without Clark through 2 weeks, but
yeah.
Are the Packers able to defend it better than most teams?
Also, if it's not against the rules, use it to your advantage, Like,
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy, but, like, the Eagles do it, and they do it well.
That's where I always defended it. It was like, okay, if it was, that much of a cheat code, other teams would do it, and other teams can't do it.
Yeah.
Like the Eagles. It's not enjoyable to watch, and it's hard to officiate, so there's going to be missed calls on it, which eventually will hurt their opponents, besides their success rate on the play. So that's where I'm at on it. So we have a couple months to wait until that Eagles game to find out for sure. So the Packers 2-0 in the division, Vikings and Lions 1-1, Bears 0-2. It's right where we've always been my whole life, I feel like. But the Lions made a statement against their old offensive coordinator who was coming in.
Yeah.
And whether you agree with the F. Ben Johnson chants or whatever, Jared Goff said he didn't like that. That was a thing when Stafford came for that playoff game, right? All the Lions fans booing Matt Stafford's kids, which supposedly happened, and I don't buy. That was going to happen, but I'm talking the team, the Detroit Lions, taking it to the Bears and their old coach and said, this is still our division. This is our offense that scored 52 points on your head. And it looked exactly like what we watched last year. And I wasn't even like 50 burger, that didn't like register as like a crazy accomplishment in my brain because we watched the Lions do that several times last year. And it just looked like they were back
to where
into form. Amon-Ra St. Brown was incredible. The Tyreek Stevenson and the Bears just could not keep up with him. Yeah. And the touchdown before halftime, you knew exactly where they were going to go, and they pulled it off. And the yards after catch that guy gets, and the way he blocks. He's one of the best blocking wide receivers, and he's not physically imposing. He's 6 foot soaking wet, you know.
And Jared Goff was exceptional.
Probably 190,
I think it was...
and Goff was just throwing darts.
Like, hear me out. When the Lions and Packers meet again, that game's going to be a way different story.
Well, it's going to be in Ford Field.
Yeah, and the Lions are going to go into that game saying, hey, we kind of got embarrassed in week one. To be completely honest, they did.
Yeah.
It's going to be a day of reckoning.
And the Packers might have the memories from late in the season last year on Thursday night going into Ford Field, and the audio from the locker room before the game of Dan Campbell said, we're going. And remember when they went for that 4th down and tried to end the game instead of kicking the field goal to extend the game? And they did, the one where Goff fell over.
Yeah.
And so they were right. So maybe the Packers have a bad taste from that one. Yeah, that's Thanksgiving, which the Packers beat the Lions on Thanksgiving 2 years ago, the first year the Lions won the division. So, yeah, that's going to be a fun game. And the Lions, they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
Aiden Hutchinson, awesome.
Yeah.
It was cool to see him get that reception from the crowd. The fans are so happy to have him back. Just not only because
he's awesome.
He wrecks games, and he's one of the best defensive players in the entire league, but he's just the Michigan guy, and he's the identity of that defense. I think him and Anzalone.
Yeah.
So, and Anzalone missed a lot of time at the end of last year, came back for that Vikings game. The Lions are A-OK. Let's quickly, in our last moment here, before we head out, check the Lions' schedule as they move forward. Now 1-1. Yeah. 3 straight games against the AFC North in 4 straight games against the AFC. At the Ravens.
Tough.
I don't love that for the Lions.
I don't love it either. You get a win against the
Can
Browns.
you survive being 1-2? Yes, obviously. And then, same deal with the Packers. Browns win, that's over.
Yeah, it's over.
Forget it. And then Bengals, no Joe Burrow.
They're probably going to win.
So,
And then you get a 0-2 or 0 probably worse Chiefs team.
they'll have a win by then.
I hope.
That's a month away. Also, Sunday Night Football. So we get a good run of the local NFL teams between the Lions and Packers being on Sunday Night Football, which is pretty cool. Yeah, the Lions are fine, but at the Ravens this week, I'm picking the Ravens.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, man.
Lamar Jackson.
He's just
Yeah.
so fun to watch.
Can we get another like Sunday Night Football week 1, another shootout?
Yeah.
Can we get Lamar in another shootout? And then maybe there's a little hiccup on the Ravens side because they
can see it.
like to lose games in crazy, spectacular fashion is kind of their thing. But a lot of fun, a lot of football talk. Spent an hour doing it. Thanks for doing it with us. We'll be back next week to talk another fun Friday, Saturday, Sunday of football we got coming up. So tune in to Friday Night Fever with Keegan and Jerry this Friday, and we will see you here on UP Power next week.